I read a lot of thrillers this week. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'll talk about the 5 books I read this week, and they all fall under the genres of mystery, thriller, and suspense. Now, I know I haven't done a weekly wrap-up in a long time. I think the last and the first and only time I've ever done it was back in July, and it's mostly because of the reason that August happened, and I read a lot of mediocre books that I just couldn't bring enough energy in my body to talk to you about because they weren't worth my time reading. They sure as not worth your time listening to me talk about these mediocre books. But this month has started off strong already. I read a total of 5 books this week, and they were all worth mentioning. Even though I did DNF one book and I gave some books 3 stars, I feel like you as a reader would appreciate these books nonetheless. So let's get started. So the first book that I have to talk about is Suggested Reading by Dave Connis, and this is actually an advanced reader copy from HarperCollins Canada. They were nice enough to send me a copy to read after I attended their bookish event where I learned about all their upcoming titles for the winter and fall season of 2019 and 2020. So basically what happens in this book is that our main character, Clara Evans, loves books. She loves books more than me and you combined, and trust me on this, I read this book and her passion for the love of books is so strong. I was like, okay, am I even a book lover if I'm not on her level yet? But anyways, so she goes to a private school, and what happens is that she starts off the school year as a library assistant, and she realizes that there is going to be a ban on 50 or so titles of books, and especially 50 titles of books that she's read and loved, and she thinks that this is completely wrong. This is censorship. So she decides to start an underground library, and she decides to fight the administration, but very low-key style. So she decides to cover up basically every book with a white cover, like white construction paper, and she passes it along. She checks out the books for her fellow students who wants to read the books on a library app. Meanwhile, her administrators and her teachers, who are fully against the ban, are working at the front line to defend the right for media and the right for exposure. So this book covers a lot of different books as well. It is clearly a book for book lovers because it's literally about the love for books, and it's literally about 5 books, and it's literally filled with knowledge about books. Now, I gave this book around 4 out of 5 stars. I didn't give it a perfect rating, even though I was basically captivated into this book. I read at least half the book in one sitting, and then I read the other half in the other sitting when I was returning home from work. I didn't give it a 5 out of 5 stars because I felt that while the story was captivating and the idea was really important, I didn't think that there was really much of a plot other than Clara trying to fight against the administration and to get her books back onto the shelves. So it kind of missed the mark on that part, but regardless, I definitely suggest you to pick this one up if you're looking for a good, easy read. I will definitely pick up more of Dave's book. So the second book that I want to talk about is called What We Buried, and this is actually an advanced reader's copy. This book actually came out in February 2019, so it's already out on shelves, and you should definitely pick this one up just as a starter. So this one's also by Kate Borman, before I forget. And the cover of this arc is gorgeous, as you can tell. I know there's a reflective glare, but as you can tell, it's like you don't see the face, but you see a stranger standing there, and then you see the same stranger standing. But this is a creepy psychological thriller, and I think that if you guys are into those kind of novels, you would definitely love this one. So I haven't read that many psychological thrillers or psychological suspense novels ever. So this one was original. It was astounding. I was scared, I was shocked, and I was definitely staring at a wall after I finished the novel because of the huge plot twist towards the end. It left me speechless in a lot of parts, and it made me creeped out in a lot of parts as well. So this book is about 2 siblings. One sibling is a pageant queen. I forgot her name. Her name escapes me, but she's a pageant queen, and what she wants to do is basically sue her parents. She wants to get emancipated so she can be alone, and she wants to sue her parents for all the years that her parents has forced her to be a pageant queen and to be on part of a reality show. Think of like those pageant queen reality TV shows that we see on TLC with the little children. She was basically one of those characters. So what happens is that on the court date where they are supposed to go in front of a judge, she realizes that her parents have completely disappeared. Her brother, who suffers condition where half his face is basically drooping, and I forgot the condition itself, but he's always being judged for his outlook. So they are complete opposites of each other. One is gorgeous and beautiful, and the idea is that she gets whatever she wants because of her beauty, and the other one is always being discriminated because of how he looks like on the outside, and people mistaking him for being unintelligent just because of the way he looks. So these siblings really do hate each other. Like, I really saw the extreme bias that they had towards each other. It's told from dual perspectives, so you'll see how they think and how they react to a lot of different situations, or the similar situations, but react differently. There was a lot of moments where I was very confused and I didn't know what was happening, and it was like creepy, and I thought there might have been some like fantasy elements to it, but I quickly realized towards the end that it wasn't fantasy, and it was all of the trick of the mind, and it was all mind games. But there was a lot of moments where I was really afraid and I couldn't put this book down. I definitely recommend you to read this one if you haven't already. And I actually talked to Kate on Instagram afterwards about it because I was just so creeped out. And I hope you guys can love this book as much as I did. So the next book that I would like to talk about is The 10th Girl by Sarah Ferry. And this book was actually read by Chelsea Dolan Reads already. And I was disappointed that she didn't like this novel because this was one of my most anticipated reads for the fall season on my ARC shelf. And when I read it, I thought it was pretty decent. I read halfway through and I was like, okay, this is a really good story. It's creepy, it's chilling, but what happens next? And as you can tell, because the book is so thick, I started realizing that I can't really read thick novels. And the reason why is because I get nervous because the authors tend to just love their own voices and love their writing style, that they just keep writing and writing and writing. And that's exactly what happened with The 10th Girl, at least in my opinion. I felt like it just dragged. It didn't go the way I wanted it to go, and the pacing was just off for a lot of the moments. Like, we don't need so much detail about the characters' lives is what I'm saying. But if you are into slow burn scary thrillers and scary novels, I think you'll enjoy this one. So this one follows a character named Mavi, and she is not a young adult. She's actually an adult. She's around like 20 years old, and she is an English teacher or an English boarding teacher for this really elite school that is like set on top of a really creepy hill in a forest, as you can tell. And there are secrets in this house. There has been a history of this house and hauntings and killings, and finally the school gets back up, and of course there are ghosts involved. So it's a chilling ghost story, so definitely pick this up if a slow thriller suspense novel is for you. So the next novel that I'd like to talk about is The Word is Murder by Anthony Horowitz. And Anthony Horowitz is known for his Alex Rider series, but from this book I also learned that he actually wrote a lot of plays and wrote a lot of episodes for a lot of famous TV shows back in the UK. And I love Anthony when he wrote the Alex Rider series. I remember I grew up on those and I love the stories that they were told. He has a really knack for writing great adventure stories. So I was highly anticipating The Word is Murder. Now, The Word is Murder actually really captivated me by its synopsis. Now, Anthony challenges what normal authors actually do, and he actually writes himself into the story. He's writing the story like it actually happened to him. So in this story, he meets a detective, and the detective and him don't really get along with each other. Okay, so this book is kind of hard to explain, I feel like, because there's just so many layers to it. But basically, Anthony writes himself as a fictional character in this fictional novel. But when you read it, it kind of reads like a retelling of his memories, and it's like a non-fiction novel in itself. So when you read this book and when you finish it, you kind of don't know who's real and who's actually fake. In this story, Anthony meets a detective, and the detective is actually trying to solve a cold case. This woman has died after going into a funeral home, and 6 hours later, she is killed. And they're trying to figure out who done it, and the detective wants Anthony to write this story for him so that in hopes that he can make himself well known and also make money off the sellings of the book, I guess. Anthony, who feels challenged that he always writes fictional novels, decides that he wants to try his hand at writing a non-fiction novel for once. So they go on this adventure where they're trying to solve the crime and also write the book itself, which is this book. It's pretty cool, but this book fell kind of flat for me and I was really disappointed by it, or at least I was disappointed by it enough to only give it a 3 out of 5 stars. I felt the pacing was a little bit off and it felt kind of slow in a lot of parts, and I wanted a more suspense element to it. It seems to me that this book is similar to a lot of mediocre mysteries out there where the pacing tends to happen, or the pacing tends to pick up towards the end, where all the events tend to happen all in within the last 5 chapters and everything gets resolved in the end. I have the second book in the series and I think I'm going to read it still because I did buy it, but I'm holding hope that the second book in the series will be better. And the last book that I want to talk about, You Owe Me a Murder by Aline Cook. Now this book follows the character named Kim, and Kim just got dumped by her boyfriend, and her boyfriend is a complete jerk. He dumped her and then he ended up dating a girl a week right after. So when they go on a trip to London, when the school has this program where they go to London and then they learn more about science and technology, she decides to sign up herself too because she just loves misery and she just wants to watch her boyfriend live his best life with a new girl. I don't know. But along the way, her flights get delayed and gets canceled, and she is stuck in a Vancouver airport before she's flying out to London. And she meets this other girl, and they bond very well quickly enough, and they do a lot of adventurous things together, such as stealing some liquor from the liquor store and then drinking it on the plane without anybody realizing, because really, it's that simple to drink on a plane. But you can already tell by my emotions towards this book, it's quickly spiraling down because I actually DNF'd this novel because I thought it was just so stupid. Now, the reason why I think it's stupid, I think, is because I read What We Buried, and it's a young adult novel, sure, but the author didn't treat the young adults as they were stupid, or at least they didn't put them in situations where they had no choice but to do stupid things. But this book, I don't know how to talk about this book without getting a little bit frustrated, but this book, basically the characters think that they can solve mystery and crime themselves, and that police forces and investigators are jokes and that they don't know anything. And of course, these teenagers that never even graduated high school yet, let alone go into university or any higher education, can solve a crime and murder. So yeah, and they would always complicate things because they're just being stupid, and I had to DNF it even though I was already 150 pages in of this 300 page novel. So will I recommend you to read this one? Probably not, but if you're okay with overlooking some very, very stupid choices, I think you'll enjoy this for a light mystery novel. So that is it for all the books that I read this week. I will definitely continue reading my suspense and thriller novels for the upcoming months as it goes along, or unless I feel dead inside and I don't want to read those ones anymore. But this season is definitely the season where I strive to finish all my fantasy novels on my shelves. Will I actually touch them? I don't really know. I do have a couple of books that I want to get to very soon, such as Wilder Girls, because everybody talks about it. My friend Emily loves it, and a lot of people on YouTube love it. I heard it was super gory, super scary, and that seems like the next perfect read to pick up. I have a couple of other books to read as well, such as The Escape Room, which I recently hauled in my haul video, and it depends if I put my haul video before my wrap up. I don't know what I'm gonna put before, but anyways, regardless, enough of my ramblings. But have a happy week. I hope you guys are reading as much as the person next to you, and if you guys aren't reading as much, doesn't matter, because you live your own life and you live your best life, and your best life does not always include reading. I know my angle's weird because my hand's not in this shot, but yes, anyways, if you like this video, subscribe and give me a like, and I'll see you guys next time with new content. Bye! Can't let you go. I can't let you go, no. 우리 운명적 I'm gonna get you.